Hello, my mimics, and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary, episode 96. We're back at the the Royal Moon Gazing Grounds, because I wanted to bring up something that Flo Dusu commented. I'll put the comment on the screen. But essentially, they said that, the intelligentsia of Caria used this pool as a way to look at the moon. That it's an ancient technique of studying the night sky, and the intention is not to get a stiff neck from looking up, so they would look at the water to see the reflection of the moon. And I think in their comment they say something along the line of, each person would be given a specific spot in the pool to look at, and they would stare at that spot. And I've been thinking about that comment, I guess, was like 5 days ago since time of recording. So I've been thinking about this spot and how significant this is. This is specifically for moon gazing. Look at all of these chairs here. All of these chairs, I would imagine, maybe on the night of a full moon, Caria would be full of how many people sitting here, staring into the pool, looking into the reflections, and especially it's a reflection. They're looking at the reflection of the moon. The moon is getting the light, and I think I said this in the last episode too, but just to reiterate, the moon is reflecting the sun's light, and then they're looking at that reflection. They're looking at double reflections, and the very, we think Nox Mirror Helm, thinking of the reflections, we think of, maybe mimics and how they might reflect something in the real world, but just outside of that symbolically, just what is happening here? Look at all these seats. We have to consider, I think, what does this mean for the culture of Caria? Like, who leads this? Most likely the Queen of the Full Moon. Like, let's try and paint a picture. The Queen of the Full Moon is leading this. She sat in one of these chairs. Maybe some of her knights are here. Maybe some scholars from the academy. Definitely her children, Rykard, Radon, Ronnie, they must have all sat here. Maybe at a special, after Radon and Rykard leave Caria, as they become adults and they do their own thing out in the world. We know that Radon was taught by an Alabaster Lord, so perhaps he went somewhere else to do that learning. We know that Rykard is at the Volcano Manor as an Inquisitor, so perhaps he's working for the Erd Tree or something, but it must have been a special occasion when the whole family was here. Radigan must have been here. Radigan must have sat in one of these chairs and stared into the pool and to gaze at the moon from here. And, what are they trying to learn? Well, we know that the full moon is bewitching, it's enchanting. The Scarians used to find fate in the stars as astrologers. Now they're not doing astronomy, they're doing astrology, they're looking at fate. And this must have been, are they sitting in silence doing this? Are they talking to each other? What do you call it? In Quaker, in the Quaker-like religion, there's a few Quakers in my area, because I'm in New Jersey, and there's a lot of Quakers in, Pennsylvania. How they do their prayer services is essentially, I think, I haven't been, but I know people who have been. They'll do a sermon or something, and then they'll all sit quietly. And then if someone has something they want to say, they just say it out loud. It could be what they're feeling, what they've felt during prayer. It could be maybe a quote from the Bible or something. They just say it. And then it's quiet again. Is that what's going on here? Are they talking? Are people talking to each other while they're saying this? Are they saying what they've noticed in the moon, their thoughts, what their feelings, maybe a premonition of fate? Is someone sitting in this chair and dozing off and falling asleep? Or are they just contemplating about themselves and thinking about other things, staring absently at the moon? Is the moon showing them visions? What's going on here? Especially with all these chairs. There's so many people here. It must have been a really honorable thing to be for Renala, Queen of the Full Moon, to invite you to gaze at the moon with her, to gaze at the moon with her family and her knights and her trusted advisors and the high echelons of maybe the Lazuli Conspectus, maybe someone from, there could have been a lot of political intrigue that had gone in this part right here, because the Academy has its problems with Renala, with moon worship. So perhaps it was like an olive branch. Although she's the headmaster of the Academy and people are like, well, no, we're into stars, we're into comets, we're into meteors. She could invite someone to say, join me and my knights and my family at a moon gazing ceremony. It's going to be a full moon soon, or maybe they do it during a waxing gibbous or a waning crescent. And say, join me on this special occasion. You could sit next to me. You'll be on my right-hand side and my left-hand side, and we'll talk. So while they're gazing at the moon, Renala could be doing political alliances by having someone foreign or someone who maybe isn't too friendly, or maybe someone who is friendly, sit next to her, and then she could chat with them. Same thing with everyone else here. Same thing with Radigan. Same thing with Radon and Rykard and Ronnie. And I think there's just if I was going to write this in a book, this would be a wonderful scene. The moon gazing court, the royal moon gazing grounds would be a phenomenal scene. Just have your imagination run wild what this place must have looked like. And then I want you to use your prophetic power and think about Shadow of the Erd Tree. I want you to look into the moon gazing grounds. I want you to look deep into the waters. And imagine there's only one chair here. And in solitude, they stare at the moon. What are they thinking about? What does the moon show them? I also got a comment. That said I should equip the Misericord and put Carian Greatsword on it, because it's a really good thing to have in the back pocket to just cast like spells, and just to be able to whip it out, a low cost Carrion Grandeur. But we do need to upgrade it, so I'm gonna go to EG, gonna upgrade it, and then we're gonna continue with the Graveyard. And we're back, and we're gonna take a right. The Invisible Sorcerers disappearing in golden dust, that's going to be so interesting to really consider. How are they able to teleport with gold and become invisible? We don't have that information yet, but I want to put a pin in that so we can think about it later. I recently got someone messaged me that from the public release of the Mimic Commentary, that they were kind of like shocked, or it was like felt like out of left field for talking about like personal stuff. And it's just so interesting to me, because I make obviously I make the videos knowing full well that not everyone has watched everything that I've ever done, but or are you looking at this stuff? But it's just kind of funny to me. One of the things that's important about doing the Mimic Commentary and just doing Elden Ring as a whole is about showing the importance of the storyteller impacts the story being told. And I think it's important for a game that's as interpretive as Elden Ring, that you understand who that person is that's trying to tell you this story, understanding their worldview and where they come from, because that's going to impact the story that's being told. 'Cause it's a very personal story when it comes to interpreting Elden Ring. It's not, there are things that are logic and math and science, like hard things in the game that we use our analytical skills to figure out, but it's also very personal. So we found from another thing, that scarab. This is. I started reading a book. I almost finished that microcosm book. So I started reading a book about time loops that someone recommended to me, and they brought up Young, and in the book they bring up Young and the golden scarab, and how that had to do with premonitions of the future. And I didn't know that story. So it's interesting that the scarabs that roll up ashes of war and incantations are scarabs, and I think it might have to do with the Young scarab, and we'll talk about that more in the future. But we found a sorcery scarab. And this is Frozen Armorament. It doesn't have any sigil. This is very interesting. It has no sigil. This is the first sorcery, I think, without a sigil. The incantations without sigils are Catch Flame and Flame Sling, which have to do with the prophecy. These are Fire Monk incantations, so they're coming from their what do you call it? Their worship or their guardianship of the Fire Monk and the Flame of the Fell God. But these are from a prophecy. These two, Catch Flame and Flame Sling, these are from a prophecy and have no sigil. So it's interesting that Frozen Armorament has no sigil. Sorcery, and since it's a sorcery scarab, someone must have cast this sorcery here in Caria, and perhaps died. Sorcery said to have been used by the old Snow Witch. Okay, that's a lot. That's very loaded language there. The old Snow Witch. So far, we have Renala. She is the great and beautiful full moon witch, which is from Muriel's dialogue. So the way that witch seems to be used just seems to denote it's a female practitioner of magic. So in Demon Souls, we have Yuria the Witch, who has her black pointed hat. She's a reference to historical and popular culture depiction of witches, but she's also influenced by Berserk's Shirka, who is a witch. And the thing about witches that come from Berserk and also within Demon Souls and kind of like wider cultural understanding is how women are more in tune with the magic of the world. So when I see witch in a Miyazaki game, to me, that is denoting just a woman who is attuned to the magical and the spiritual and the soul nature of this fantasy world. We have Renala, who's the full moon witch. Now we have this old snow witch. So she's a witch who is accustomed to snow magics, just by looking at the Frozen Armorament. Chance Armament held in right hand with frost. This sorcery can be cast while in motion. Definitely an offshoot, or perhaps the progenitor for Scholar's Armament, because Scholar's Armament is nearly identical to Frozen Armament. The Snowy Crone, who is the old Snow Witch, taught the young Ranni to fear the dark moon as she imparted her cold sorcery. Okay, this is interesting. We know Ranni did the Night of the Black Knives. We also have from our frozen pot, originates from the cold dark moon of Ranni, the Carian princess. And if we look at Carian filigree crest, an honor said to have once been awarded to Carian knights who served as direct retainers to the kingdom's princesses, multiple princesses. Now there is only one princess, Ranni, daughter of Renala. So Ranni, daughter of Renala, and Radagon, who has her mother, Queen Renala, is of the full moon, the bewitching and enchanting full moon. Ranni has the cold dark moon. And she learned something about the dark moon from this old snow witch whose spells do not have origins on them. There is no sigil to these spells, just like the prophecies. So is this prophetic? Because she teaches young Ranni to fear the dark moon, to fear it. That is interesting. Why should you fear the dark moon? As she imparted, so she's teaching her about these cold sorceries, and she's saying, fear the dark moon. So the crone, the snowy witch, knows about the dark moon. Renala is all about the full moon, and this old snow witch is telling Ranni to fear the dark moon. Since this doesn't have a sigil in the background, just like Catch Flame and Flame Sling, is she telling her to fear the dark moon because of prophecy? because of a prophecy. Now, up ahead, we have our Sunrealm soldiers. So we were already talking about how this was a Sunrealm building. It's very Norman in architecture. Now we're getting dead Sunrealm people coming out of the ground, and right there we have one of our Hexers who drop the scythe. These guys. Let's look at the scythe again, because I brought it up briefly, but now we got one of them over here. Great scythe comprised of a large blade affixed with a crooked stick, weapon wielded by the aged gravekeeper. So that is a gravekeeper over there. That guy is a gravekeeper who tend to the forgotten graveyards throughout the lands between. This weapon is said to have served as a charm against evil spirits in times of old. Now, since these guys are Sunrealm, we start thinking sun. Now we already have the eclipse. The sun in eclipse is said to be the symbol of wandering mausoleums where the soulless demigods slumber. An eclipse is made out of a moon and the sun. And we're finding these guys in Caria Manor, which is ran by the Renala and her family. Now, when we think of the eclipse, if you watched my previous video, you see where we're going. Now we're thinking, wait, if there was going to be an eclipse, this eclipse, is it the dark moon or the full moon that's not doing this eclipse? Because now we're getting fear the dark moon. She's saying fear the dark moon, not fear the full moon. So we have to think, how is the dark moon different than the full moon? Is it just the phase of the moon? Is there some special property about the moon that changes during the phases? Or is there 2 moons we don't know about? 3 moons, 4 moons, 5 moons? We have no idea yet. We have the lost black moon, so there is already precedent within the lands between of multiple moons, said to be a fragment of the black moon that once hung above the eternal city. Now, the black moon is dark, but it's not the dark moon, it's the black moon. So now we have, potentially, 3 moons. 3 moons. Full moon, black moon, dark moon. And we should fear the dark moon. Do we fear the dark moon because of an eclipse? Oh, no. These guys, they should fear some frickin' some night and fire. So this Snowy Crone, now we have a character who's teaching Ronnie something, and Ronnie is the one who does the Knight of Black Knives. That, according to Roger, which, I don't think we should disbelieve him, he found it on the knife print. Ronnie works with Scions of the Eternal City. Let's up her intelligence. She works with Scions of the Eternal City to assassinate Godwyn the Golden, the Knight of the Black Knives, as well as multiple other demigods. If we go to this should all be ringing in your head. So if we look at our Crimson and Cerulean daggers, those which gave the demigods their first taste of death, and we go to Godric's Great Rune. The first demigods are the Elden Ring Godfrey and his offspring Golden Lineage. So the first guy to die is Godwyn the Golden. He's the first one to die in the Knight of Black Knives. He gets transformed to the Prince of Death, spreads death root, yada yada. We all know that. Then other demigods are dying, and the Scions of the Eternal City. We learned about we have Noxtella, and then over here, when we took the Sending Gate, we learned about Nokron, the Eternal City. So, Scions of these underground cities are working with Ronnie to assassinate Godwyn. Oh, this is interesting that there is, out on the surface, let's read the message, death ahead. Interesting that this is the first time I think we've seen a grave glovewort on the surface in front in a graveyard. That's very interesting. That goes to show firmly how in tune the Carians are with spirituality and spirit calling. There's an Evergy over. Yeah, there's more. Oh, very interesting stuff. But so Ronnie is working with the Scions of the Eternal City, assassinate Godwyn Golden. The Eternal Cities are underground. They're hidden amongst the ancient dynasty. They're eternal, which makes us think of Marika the Eternal. The finger readers who live lives eternal. Not only that, now we're getting... Okay, so there's someone else involved. Ranni had this old snow witch, this Snowy Crone, who's teaching her about the Dark Moon and to fear it. What is that? And like we were thinking, like, well, how does Ranni know how to do this destined, like, make the night, like, how does she know how to do this black knife print? On the night of the black knife, someone stole a fragment of death from Malekith the Black Blade, imbued its power in Assassin Dagger. This marks evidence of a ritual and hides the truth of the conspiracy. Now we got some of our Almanorics here. We already knew the Carians were allied with Almanorics, but now we also have confirmation they're allied with second generation Almanorics too. Do we know they're second generation? I don't know if we have indication that they're second generation, but we're gonna get it actually in 2 seconds. Anyway, so this is I think very important. Oh, and there's our painter. This is what I think is very important, is that Ranni, her knowledge about, like, and her doing the Night of Black Knives could have come from this Snowy Crone, who is teaching her frozen magic and to fear the Dark Moon. So we're going to have to keep looking for information on the Snowy Crone, and who she was, what she knew, why she would teach Ranni about cold sorceries and teach her about the Dark Moon, and why she taught her to fear it. And is the Snowy Crone the person who influenced Ranni into working with the scions of the Eternal Cities, because this is looking prophetic. This is looking prophetic to me. To create Deathroot, to assassinate Godwyn, to destroy the Golden Lineage, and all of that leads to our Tarnished arriving here, and our prophecy is telling us that we're going to have to burn the Erdtree. That's what the prophecy is telling us. So, that's... Is it because of the Snowy Crone? All right, what do we have here? Almanoric Ashes. Let's put him on the bar. Ash and remains spirits which yet dwell. A strapping duo used to summon the spirits of 2 Almanorics. A strapping duo of cartwheeling spirits who wield rippled swords. Okay, so these are rippled swords. I don't know if we have their rippos. And they spew freezing breath. Okay, so now cold is associated with Ranni. Ranni learns cold sorceries from the Snow Witch, and the Almanorics can spew freezing breath. Rhymed crystal buds come from the north and the mountaintops. The astrologers were the neighbors to the fire giants in the mountains. So is the Snow Witch a descendant of the mountaintops too? Was she an ancient astrologer? Does she know a history? Is she like a hidden Carian or something? Both are second generation Almanorics. Okay, so it was okay I said second generation. With dumpy heads that resemble those of frogs. So why are they second generation that resemble frogs? Well, these guys can walk around. The first generation of Almanorics, the old Almanorics in the Almanoric village, their legs fade away, such as their fate. So let's combine people. When we make a new Almanoric, let's combine them with frogs, because frogs have strong legs, and they'll have less blood clots. Blood clots usually form in the legs. So that's probably why their legs are fading. The Almanoric women, like Latenna, she had a wolf. And that seems to be, well, we don't need they don't seem to be first generation or second generation, because she came from the Halig tree. She came from the north as well. She came from the north by the Halig tree and the lilies. And the lilies on her shield. So perhaps the Almanorics from the Halig tree are maybe older than first generation Almanorics, maybe younger, but maybe, or just different, a different breed of Almanorics, Almanoric women. These, although not gendered, appearance, since they're the dumpy stuff, they appear masculine to me. All right, so this is our painting, a resurrection painting, pointing towards the Academy. At the Academy, Rennala was doing the Forbidden Act, grim art of reincarnation. That's what Muriel called it, which is also known as rebirth, with larval tears to use the Great Rune of the Unborn, which was in the amber egg, gift to her by Radigan, assumedly when they got married because of eggs and fertility. And we think of the Targaryens in Song of Ice and Fire putting dragon eggs in the cribs of babies to help them grow and grow strong and potentially hatch dragons. This had a Great Rune in it. This Great Rune, actually, you could see kind of amber is on it too. So we're coming here to the painting, our resurrection painting. So we're going to learn about who Rennala was trying to reincarnate. So we got a larval tear. So she's doing rebirth and reincarnation and resurrection with larval tears. Core of a creature of mimicry known as a silver tear. Being born anew allows the reallocation of attributes boosted by leveling up. So she's trying to, I guess, make a copy of somebody. Okay. Who is she trying to resurrect? By making a mimic of them. By making a silver tear that will mimic them. Robe worn by young Academy scholars. The juveniles birthed anew by the amber egg of Queen Rennala, the head of Caria Academy. Yet their rebirth is not without imperfection. So these resurrected, reborn mimics, these are copies of somebody, are imperfect. And because they're imperfect, they repeat the process, eventually becoming utterly dependent on it. So they are being reborn again and again and again and again. I want you to think about, in a gameplay standpoint, rebirth is not without imperfections, and thus they repeat the process. If you're playing the video game and you keep redoing your build and redoing your stats and trying to do something new, well, what's happening there? If we were to go through rebirth, are we making a mimic of ourselves? Are we becoming the mimic? What are we... If we used a larval tear, do we then become a silver tear who was a copy of our previous self, but just a little bit different? We're still us, because we have our identity and our memories, but we have different stats. We have a different body, essentially. We could also use Rennala like the magic mirror and change our identity. To change our not identity, to change what we look like. But our identity would still be the same, because our identity is determined by who we are on the inside. How do we identify? It's not on just outward appearance. It's not just based on what you can do. It's who you are and how you feel. That's your identity. That's the self. At least that's what I think. But what does the rest of this say? Rebirth is as sleep to them. And with each awakening, memory fades into oblivion. So when someone is reborn, they lose their memory. Who doesn't have memories so far? Melina. And Irina, who's now Hyetta. So Hyetta was reborn in some way. She doesn't remember her death. Melina is an amnesiac. Her memories have faded into oblivion. So her memories are gone. It's a sleep to them. And with each awakening, memory fades into oblivion. Ronnie, when we interacted with, after we got into the second phase, she said, the rich slumber. Do not interfere with my mother's rich slumber. So Rennala has gone through rebirth too. And she doesn't remember. Like she's utterly dependent on the egg because she doesn't know anything else other than the egg. She forgets. But now we get an idea of who she's trying to resurrect. A juvenile scholar, a child. A child. Rennala lost a child. And she's trying to bring them back. Well, who did she lose? Well, we look at the Carian filigree crest. An honor said to have once been awarded to Caria knights who served as direct retainers to the kingdom's princesses. Now there is only one princess, Ranni, daughter of Rennala. So Rennala must have lost another daughter. Right? It must be because Ranni's sister died. And she's trying to bring her back. That must be who the other princess is. Right? Well, we'll have to keep playing to figure out, but isn't that just a sad, sad tale? That this mother, now we can think, why is, people are like, oh, Renala is so devastated that Radagon left her. That's why she's like this. No. It's because she's trying to bring back a child. A princess. Renala lost a child, and she wants to bring them back to life. How did she lose that child? We don't know. Who was that child? We don't know. But that Renala is the story of a mother who lost their child and is trying to bring them back, even through the grim art of reincarnation. Even if it means losing her memory, losing her identity, she is trying to bring them back. And that's sad. But there is something to the story that isn't so tragic. Renala forgets. Okay, her memory has faded into oblivion. She does not have the memory of that pain. She's in a slumber. She's in a sleep. She's like Saint Trina, puts people to dreams. So Saint Trina might be tied to rebirth as well. Ooh, Thalfrost Boluses. Don't know how to make that yet, but it makes sense why this stuff is here. A lot of cold stuff going back here. Maybe the Snowy Crone was here. But Renala doesn't remember, and if you go to her, she'll call you her sweeting. So, Renala doesn't remember the daughter that she lost, whoever they might be, but you can be her child now too. Even though you stopped her from doing being able to resurrect the juveniles, she still gets to perform the role of mother for eternity. You can't hurt Renala. She's safe and protected. She was protected by one of Radagon's Red Wolves. She was protected by a golden barrier chanted by the juveniles, and she's protected by her son Rykard's abductor virgins. Renala gets to be a mother forever to whichever tarnish comes to her, mine, yours, or somebody else's, to be reborn again and again and again. You'll never be perfect, but you'll always have a mother to return to when you go to Raya Lucaria. She's no longer this, phenomenal sorceress as she once was. She's no longer the great and powerful queen. She just gets to be a mother. And the tears fall like rain. So what do we have here? Back in the graveyard, we have one of Radagon's Red Wolves, indicating Radagon was here. And he's also leading the Snow Wolves. So Radagon leads the Snow Wolves. Now I want to see... No help. Alright, he doesn't do a lot of damage, but I want to check something. Alright, he's just attacking. I want to see if he's going to cast any spells. Okay, so he knows Carian spells, indicating this Red Wolf learned sorceries at Caria. But does he know incantations? Will this Red Wolf cast any incantations? Oh, I didn't know I had a Litany of Proper Death on. No, he's not. He's only casting Carian spells. So this is a Red Wolf that was here. Oh, I didn't mean to do this. I missed. Oh, no. This was a Red Wolf that was here before Radagon went to back to the capital. So this is a Red Wolf that came to Caria before Radagon became Elden Lord, indicating that we have a timeline. We can use these Red Wolves to deduce when Radagon was somewhere, based on what the Red Wolves know. This one hasn't cast any of the sorceries, so this one was never, did not follow Radagon back to the capital. It doesn't know about anything he learned studying incantations. If we recall, Radagon icon, legendary talisman depicting the Elden Lord Radagon. As the husband of Renala of Caria, the red-haired Radagon studied sorcery. As the husband of Queen Marika, he studied incantations. Thus did the hero's biography complete. So that wolf that we just fought, that indicates that Radagon, that wolf was here only when Radagon was the husband of Renala. As the husband of Marika, that wolf does not have any influence. So And the wolves are, the snow wolves are respecting him. So I think that if we think about who Radigan is, this shows to me, and one of Renala's summons was summoning her oath to the wolves. Oh, we have a Michelis Lily. The Radigan's Red Wolf was next to a Michelis Lily. Ooh. Oh. 3 Michelis Lilies. 4 Michelis Lilies. 5 I feel like it's like Sesame Street over here. 5 Michelis Lilies. Holy crap, that's a lot of Michelis Lilies. Okay, so there's... Oh my goodness. So we have 5 Michelis Lilies. 5 Michelis Lilies. Where one of Radigan's Red Wolves, before he became the husband of Marika, are here. Delicate water lily of unalloyed gold that has started to fade and wilt, a flower signifying faith in the Halig tree, thought to be beloved by the Empyrean Mikkel in his youth. And we also found 0 Trina lilies here. Only Michelis lilies. There's also 3 Michelis lilies here, and there was a Michelis lily hidden right here. I don't remember if we found any down here. So that's... Let's think about how the Red Wolf represents Radigan. Let's use that as a signifier that this is representing Radigan. So Radigan is leading the wolves here. Caria, I'm going to use some prophetic knowledge here. And we're going to use a little prophetic knowledge. That the wolf is a good representation of Caria as a house. Actually, we don't even have to use prophetic knowledge. The Carians are essentially a parallel to the Starks of Winterfell in A Song of Ice and Fire. So we're not going to use prophetic knowledge. I'm just going to use Song of Ice and Fire knowledge. And Radigan is their patriarch. Even though it's a matriarchal clan, Radigan is the patriarch, and he was essentially holding court with these wolves. He is a respected person in Caria. He marries Renala. He does their rituals at the Church of Vows. He goes through absolution. He washes away his sins. He professes his love to Renala. And now he's respected amongst the Carians. He's a respected sorcerer. Because the Red Wolf was casting Carian sorcery. No incantations yet. Now the interesting thing is, what the heck are Michelis Lilies doing here? A flower signifying faith in the Halig tree, thought to be beloved by the Empyrean Mikkel in his youth. Now we see lily imagery all over the Carian stuff. And is this supposed to be Michelis Lilies on it? Is this supposed to be Halig tree lilies on it? Or is it supposed to be Trina's lilies? Is it supposed to be Trina's lilies? Trina's lilies, so far I'm thinking, are mimic lilies. Like they're mimicking Michelis Lilies, because we found them all around underground, where we get our melted mushrooms, Duke Sturba. We didn't find any Michelis Lilies in Limgrave. None in the Weeping Peninsula, though we found bewitching branches of Michelis behind the Church of Pilgrimage, which has our first statue of Radigan. So far, we found 2 more statues of Radigan. One with Renala, and then one at the Bellum Church. So what could that indicate? That Michelis Lilies are here. Well, I don't know if we've had confirmation yet that Miquella is the daughter or the son of Radigan America. I don't know if we have that confirmation yet. It might have to be prophetic. Maybe that's prophecy. Who's the child of? Melania fights Radon. We know that she's not the daughter of Renala. We know that she's not the Golden Lineage, so she must be child of Radigan America. Okay, so we don't have that item yet, but we'll just we could deduce it. We'll deduce. We will do our deductions. Is this showing that this faith in the Halig tree is older than Miquella because Radigan's Red Wolf was here before he knows incantations with 5 Michelis Lilies? I think that might be the case. I think that's what it could be. You let me know. Tell me what you think those lilies are representing. use some of your prophetic power too. Use some of your prophetic power to tell me what you think those are. But the big thing about the wolf that we learned, that wolf does not cast any Caria, didn't cast any of the holy weapons, which are not actually holy, they're just all physical. So, yeah, it has to be before he goes to the capital. Okay, so this is the Royal Grave Everjail. This one is also not locked. This is the second unlocked one. This one wasn't locked. I think this one was locked. I don't know if this one was locked. This one was locked. This is where we got Radagon's Scarseal from fighting actually a Zamor, and the Zamor are the Frost Zamor. Do we have anything about Zamor? No, but it was an ancient hero of Zamor, and that's where we got our Radagon icon, and she cast Frost. So she must... Is she from the cold north, from the mountaintops, where the giants are at? Ooh. Radagon's red hair. He's holding a torch. Red, probably fire. The fire monks all have red hair. Red being fire. Night and flame. This is Night and flame. But that could have been representing ice and fire. This could have been a reference to ice and fire, with Radagon representing fire. And it's also the Weeping Everjail, so she's sad. And the Zamor representing ice. And is that Zamor related to the old Snow Witch and the Dark Moon? Alright, so we're at the Royal Grave Everjail. Who is the prisoner in this eternity jail? Eternal jail. We're jailing their spirits in here. Who is the prisoner of this Everjail? Who is the prisoner of the Carians? Now, over here, in the Cuckoo's Everjail, a Carian knight was imprisoned. So they were imprisoning a Carian. Who are the Carians imprisoning? An Onyx Lord. Oh, that's push. What else does he do? Opens a black hole that summons meteors. Okay, so so far we've fought 2 Alabaster Lords. Whoa. We fought 1 Alabaster Lord. I know 3 Alabaster Lords. 1 Alabaster Lord in Limgrave, where we got a pull sorcery. Another black hole summoning meteors. Then we fought a Alabaster Lord in the Weeping Peninsula by the Star Callers, who were doing the pose that Radagon does. So the Golden Order Fundamentalist pose, this one right here, is also a Star Caller pose. And this guy is summoning meteors, which is very reminiscent to the... And it's making fire on the ground. It's very reminiscent to the Academy, who study meteors. Comet, who is it? The Carlos Conspectus. But Radon is taught by an Alabaster Lord. So here we're having... It seems that Alabaster Lords and Onyx Lords may be in opposition to each other, and now we have more faction dispute, that these Onyx Lords and the Alabaster Lords are enemies. And Onyx is much darker than Alabaster. The Alabaster is white. This guy might be dark just because he is a spirit, but Onyx is, a dark stone. Very similar sword. He also bleeds silver. So here we go. The Carians seem to be enemies of the Onyx Lords, and that could indicate why Radon was taught by an Alabaster Lord, because there is a conflict between these 2 sets of lords. And we got Meteorite. 30 intelligence. Ooh, almost there. One of the glintstone sorceries that manipulates gravitational forces. Let's go over to here. Gravity Well manipulates glintstone. A glintstone sorcery that manipulates gravitational forces. Also kind of have that black hole imagery. Has lightning coming from it, purple lightning. This was taught to Radon. This was taught to Radon by an Alabaster Lord with a skin of stone. So the Onyx Lord has skins of stone too. Summons a void. So there's nothing. This is the void. There is nothing in there. A lightless, black, abyssal void. Summons a void. Amidst a small rain of meteorites. This sorcery originates from the Onyx Lords. So not from the Alabaster Lords, from the Onyx Lords. Who had skin of stone and were called lords in reverential fear of their destructive power. Well, what's that destructive power? To be able to summon meteors from a void. Down beneath the Shifra, we found the Claymen, who were priests, who were looking for oracles, who were giving prophecies. They have Clayman's harpoon, tip made from a sharpened meteorite shard. Well, does that mean that there were Onyx Lords down here? Or when this was above ground, is that why the Onyx Lords were feared? Because they could destroy maybe an ancient dynasty? And where do they come from? Where do people made of stone, skin of stone? Well, it's very similar to the Crystallians, who have the wisdom of stone. But they're made of crystals. Do the Onyx Lords and Alabaster Lords have the wisdom of stone? But we're also saying that the Carians have another alliance with Alabaster Lords. Alabaster Lords, Crystallians, dragons, trolls, and wolves. Crystallians, dragons, trolls, wolves, and now Alabaster Lords. They have this esoteric knowledge that the Erd Tree wasn't going to exist. Now Ronnie is getting influenced by this Dark Moon Witch who's teaching her occult sorceries. They got lilies on their equipment, very similar to the lilies found in the ancient dynasty. Is it Trina's lilies? Is it Michelis Lilies? These Carians they got a lot of explaining to do, I think. I think they got a lot of explaining to do. Especially, oh my goodness, especially, we haven't even gotten to Ronnie yet. We need to meet this woman. We need to meet the woman behind the Knight of the Black Knives to see what she's up to. Wow, that guy really screwed me up. And just as a recap, we also know that Renala, she lost a princess. She lost a daughter. Alright. On the next episode, we will go through the three sisters. Oh. So maybe Renala lost two daughters? There's only one princess left. So is it Ronnie and her two sisters? Or is it symbolic? We have three sisters, and so far we also have 3 moons. The black moon, full moon, and the dark moon. The black moon, full moon, dark moon? Black moon, dark moon, full moon? Black moon, dark moon, full moon? I don't know. All right. You know the drill. Let's do the thing.